So this is another application of this. This is really for the northern and southern hemispheres. So this middle line here, that's the equator. And each line on each side is the opposite. So like the thing with the I Ching, let me just go back a minute if we can do it here. We'll go back a couple. Whenever you go around, any line on one side of the zodiac, any hexagram on one side, like at the beginning of Aries, it's solid, solid, broken, 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 forward, broken. But in Libra, exactly the opposite will be broken, broken, solid, solid, solid. So wherever there's a broken line on one side, there's a solid line on another on the opposite side. It's the whole system is neutral like that. There's always polarized, and the whole system is neutral, balanced. Each cycle has its extreme, but across each other, there's nothing out of balance. The yin and the yang are balanced. So this is the beauty of it. It's only when a planet or sun or moon ends up in one of these places that it gets accentuated and takes you off the total balance. So that's our zodiac, but when we put it to the northern, this has, the outside is the northern hemisphere, and the inside here is the southern hemisphere. And so you can see across each hemisphere they're there, but you'll see that if you look at the top, you'll see that it's in the inner wheel it says Gemini to Cancer, and the outer wheel goes Sagittarius to Capricorn. So this is going from the greatest, and in the northern hemisphere is the greatest darkness, the southern hemisphere is the greatest brightness. And you can see the unity and the balance of the two hemispheres and why the zodiacs are reversed for dealing with the southern hemisphere, or why they need to be. If you're using it for measuring the light and the dark, and it's the measurement of the light and dark that's brought all the real meaning to the zodiac, and then the numbers were added on top of it, a cardinal, fixed, mutable, and fire, air, water. These other categories were added on top of that by numbers and by others, there are perceptive associations, but they wrote in the symbolism. So the symbolical side and the natural side, they interweave with each other in astrology. Both are useful, and you can use either one and come to good meanings. But when you're integrating it all, you have to put the light in perspective and see it in the right sequence. You have to see the phases, the correct phases you're going through. Okay, this is another viewing of the I Ching. It's just drawn with each layer. Like you have yourself in the center. You have a father and a mother. You have 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-grandparents, 32 great-great-grandparents, and 64 great-great-great-grandparents. Or you have your daylight increasing half, nighttime increasing half, like father and mother. You have your 4 grandparents, the father's grandparents, the mother's parents. Then each of them have parents. And this builds up so that what it means is that 150 years ago, 64 people had to be making love and having a baby just to phenomenally get you here now. And you're carrying, your life is justifying the lives of all those generations, about 130 generations, 130 people. You do your life properly and you've cleared your karma. If you get enlightened, you justify the pains and sorrows of the last 6 generations. And probably set the standard for the next 6. But this lets you put the family tree, you put your family members, you put parents, grandparents, you can put the family members, and they're in sections of the zodiac. They're in parts of your chart talking to you, looking over to you too. There's a whole nother area of astrology. I may do a little booklet or a class on this, but it's quite an incredible thing. I have done a lot of work with the family tree. I'm not going to get into it more. I just want to show that these two things all fit into the zodiac. So this shows our new type of chart forms. Now, you don't have these yet. At the end of this webinar series, I hope to find a team of people, 2 or 3 people, or 3 or 4, and work together to adapt the program I have and turn it into an app that puts the I Ching. You can see on this drawing, you can see the I Ching around the wheel. You can see the colors. You see the hexagram, the aspects, and yet even the constellations around the outside in a pastel color. So this is the 21st century charts. These are sort of more modern charts where you can work with colors and other things, but they take a long time to do. Most people would do it. I've done probably thousands I've hand colored or drawn out. They've taken more than an hour or 2 a piece, just because I got obsessed by the color. But just as it can be done in color, it can also be played musically by sound. So there's many ways other than just words to interpret or to tune in to the zodiac and what it implies, the tropical zodiac and what it implies. So the idea is hopefully we'll have a RASA program that does all of these things and allows you to get these color charts within a year or so. Okay, so maybe by 2020, when vision's supposed to be perfect, we'll have something that allows you to see clearly and have these charts. If you know people that are what would be interested in being involved to help getting me doing the app, the work on this, let me know. I'm open. Okay. So now what I've done here, this is not the whole table, but this is just a simple little table of each degree to the main hexagram. So here's 0, the first one is 0 to 1 degree of Capricorn. It's in the hexagram of return, the turning point, which is the Wilhelm hexagram number 24. It's in line 1, which is the active solid line. Or it's in, they go to the second 1 to 2 degrees. It's line 2. It's a passive line. And it goes through, this gives you the, I'm just going to put each one up for each quarter of the year so you can get screenshots. At least you can have one table to look up the first level of hexagrams right away. So I'd say I have them by signs. And then you can see how the Aquarius moves up. It moves 12 to 13, 13, 14, 14 to 15. You look up the innocence, and it goes hexagrams 25, line 1, 2, 3. But then it starts 15, 16, 17, 15, 16, 16 to 17, 17 to 18. It goes from line 3 to 2 to 1. So as the two together, the direction changes, and you end up with the mutable half. And each of these is like a theme. So there's a title. Some of the titles are a little bizarre, but some of them are very appropriate. And really, the names were changed over the years. So there could be a better naming, but this is the tradition of how it's been passed on, more from a horary viewpoint than the zodiacal viewpoint. So this is the family, the clan is the theme, which were 6 degrees. Abundance, fullness, 6 to 12 degrees. Clinging fire, 6 to 12 to 18. Revolution, molting, 18 to 24. Fellowship with men, up to 24 to 30. Okay, this is a symbol for the zodiac, which has the old classical constellation symbols, the hexagrams for that sign, and the rulerships. And it has my funny little sign symbols when I first. For me, they really represented clarity. It allowed me to think between the two clearly, but it's not something. It's not established. It's a little too eccentric for being out there for everyone. So you don't have to. I put them together because it's there, but it's not necessary. You can work with your regular signs symbols. So here's Aries. The hexagrams and degrees are approach for 6 degrees, then decrease, the lake at the bottom of the mountain, then limitation, storm on the lake, inner truth, then the marrying maiden. These are the themes, like the weekly themes almost. So then we have, we get to Taurus, opposition, the joyous lake, treading conduct, then peace, then taming power of the great, then waiting for nourishment. These are the themes for Taurus. They're written there, but I'm just going through this and leaving this on for a second or so that you can get screenshots of this and have a little table where these are easy, a quick reference to look up planets, your sun, your planet, your moon is going to be in some of these themes, and the messages inside of this will be relating directly to your to that planet and to that function. So here's Gemini, taming power of the small, power of the great, possession in great measure, breakthrough resoluteness, the creative individual. It builds up, and it has all those associations. Then we have Cancer, and it's coming to meet. Then the first 6 degrees, then preponderance of the great, then the cauldron of the cooking pot, then duration, then gentle penetrating wind and wood. I don't expect you members. I'm just going through this so that we've cut, so you have it, and then we're going to show how to apply this later. So here's Leo, starts the well, work on what has been spoiled, pushing upwards, conflict, oppression, exhaustion, and before completion. These are the 6 hexagrams. So there's essentially 5 hexagrams in the cardinal signs, 5 hexagrams in the mutable signs, and 6 in the fixed signs. But because 2 of them have neutral lines in it, it works. In Virgo, we have deliverance, dispersion, dissolution, the abysmal water, youthful folly, and the army. And they're all explained as you get an I Ching book. There's all kinds of I Ching books and different types of ways people have interpreted them. My favorite I Ching book is the Wilhelm Baines version. But even with that, they use a lot of the Chinese symbolism and mysticism, and some of it seems really strange, and it seems almost bizarre, sometimes bizarrely negative, and you wouldn't want to necessarily think about it in terms of your horoscope. Like in one of the hexagrams, it says, and the lines have their own thing. Their nose is cut out, the nose is chopped off, and and the eyes are cut out. Not a good beginning, but a good end. So you read that and you think, well, but it's in context to a story. Each hexagram has a story. It's parable, it's metaphor, and it's teaching. And you have to go through the symbolism and the metaphor of it to see the associated meaning, and then you can apply it to the chart. And sometimes incredible associations are there from words that were written thousands of years ago. There's also my version of the I Ching perspective. I call it the great sequence, the sequence of change. And it's a perspective, an astrological perspective on I Ching, but I've rewritten these to take care, to remove the concept of the superior man, superior man, this, so that it's the individual, the superior individual. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female, to be creative or receptive. I did, in my interpretation, I removed that sexist side of things and put it to the individual. So we'll go through this and see that later. Okay, when we come to Scorpio, the first 6 degrees, obstruction, next 6 to 12, keeping still, 12 to 15, modesty, 15 to 18, standstill, stagnation, 18 to 24, gathering together, amassing, and 24 to 30, progress.